The war lasted 3 years. It was not a war of planets burned and populations exterminated. Humanity lacked the resources for that kind of conflict, and despite everything the Council had done, they had no desire for genocide. This was a different kind of war. A war of demonstration. A war fought to prove a point that the galaxy had refused to understand. Humans could not be contained. The Council sent fleet after fleet. Each time, they sent more ships than before. Each time, they expected the primitives to finally break, to finally accept their place, to finally submit to the natural order of civilized society. Each time, humanity refused. Dr. Katie Chen's disruption technology spread across the solar system. Humanity could not match the Council's transit network, but they could make it unreliable, force enemy fleets to arrive at unpredictable locations, blind their sensors at critical moments. The advantage was never large, but it was enough. Lisa Brennan rebuilt her fleet again and again. For every ship destroyed, 2 more rose from Earth's shipyards. The designs improved with each generation, incorporating lessons learned from every battle. UN engineers worked themselves to exhaustion, driven by something more powerful than fear. They were fighting for their right to exist. Daniel Hayes spent those 3 years talking. While soldiers fought and scientists invented and workers built, he reached out to every species in the galaxy willing to listen. He told them humanity's story. He showed them what the Council had done, what it intended to do, what it would do to any species that refused to submit. Some listened. Some even began to question whether the Council's judgment of Earth was just. But the war's turning point came not through battle or diplomacy. It came through a single moment of restraint. In the 3rd year of the conflict, humanity launched its boldest operation. 42 warships, everything Earth could spare, jumped into the transit network and emerged above Desser Prime itself, the Council's home world. Daniel stood on the bridge of the flagship, watching the crystal cities and floating palaces grow larger on the display. His heart was pounding. His hands were steady. All ships, hold position, Lisa ordered. Weapons charged but locked. We are not here to fire. We are here to talk. The Council's defense fleet scrambled to respond, but they were too slow. For 6 hours, humanity held the high ground over the heart of galactic civilization. Their weapons were aimed at targets that had never known war. Their finger was on the trigger. They did not pull it. Daniel activated the broadcast system. His message went out on every frequency, to every receiver on the planet below, to every ship in the system, to every relay that would carry his words across the stars. People of the Council, he said, we could destroy this world. We could. Our weapons are armed. Our ships are in position. One word from me, and everything you have built over millions of years would burn. He paused, letting the silence speak. But we are not here to end civilizations. We are not here for revenge or conquest or domination. We are here to make a point that you have refused to understand. On Desser Prime, in the Great Council Chamber, High Arbiter Kath Orm watched the human fleet on his display. For the first time in his long life, he felt something he did not recognize at first. Fear. You called us primitives, Daniel continued. You dismissed our history, our struggles, our achievements as the fumbling of children not fit to sit at your table. But here is what you failed to understand. His voice carried across light years, translated into 1,000 languages, heard by beings who had never imagined this moment. Our history of conflict, the very violence you condemned, is why we are standing here today. We did not survive our wars despite our nature. We survived because of it. Every battle taught us. Every defeat made us stronger. Every enemy we faced made us better at facing the next one. The human fleet held position, weapons still locked, still waiting. You have ruled the galaxy for millions of years by being patient and careful and overwhelming. You have forgotten what it means to struggle, to fight for survival against odds that seem impossible, to lose everything and still refuse to stop. Daniel looked at the planet below, at the beautiful world that had sentenced humanity to slavery. We have not forgotten. We never will. He took a breath. We do not want to rule the galaxy. We do not want tribute or territory or submission from anyone. We want what we have always wanted since the moment you sent your first message. We want respect, recognition, the chance to stand as equals among the stars. The broadcast continued, reaching every corner of Council space. So here's our offer. We will withdraw from your system. We will return to Earth. We will stop attacking your fleets and raiding your outposts. In exchange, you will recognize humanity as a sovereign species with full rights under galactic law. You will rescind the containment designation. You will leave us in peace. Daniel paused one final time. Or you will watch your capital burn, and then you will face an enemy that has learned to fight among your own stars. The choice is yours. The transmission ended. For 6 hours more, the human fleet waited. The council debated. Species that had not questioned the natural order in millennia found themselves asking whether that order was worth dying for done in the end. They chose survival. The human fleet withdrew peacefully, leaving Thesser Prime unharmed. 3 months later, the Treaty of Earth was signed. Humanity was granted full membership in the Galactic Council. Not as petitioners, not as subjects, not as primitives, as partners. The ceremony took place on neutral ground, a space station built specifically for the occasion. Daniel represented Earth, flanked by Lisa and Kevin and Nicole and all the others who had survived the long journey from that first moment of contact. Hi, Arbiter Keth Oron signed for the Council. His hand trembled slightly as he pressed his seal to the document. He did not meet Daniel's eyes. When it was done, when the diplomats had left and the cameras had stopped recording, Lisa stood beside Daniel at the observation window. They looked out at the stars together, both of them older now, both of them marked by years of conflict. Think they will ever really accept us? Lisa asked. Daniel watched the alien delegates departing in their elegant ships. Some moved with grudging respect. Others could not hide their fear. A few seemed almost curious, as if seeing humanity clearly for the first time. No, he admitted. But they will never underestimate us again. On Earth, celebrations erupted across every continent. Humanity had faced the void and refused to look away. They had been told their nature was their weakness, and they had proven it was their greatest strength. In Geneva, Secretary General Amanda Clark addressed a crowd of millions. They called us young, she said. They called us violent. They called us primitives who did not deserve a place among the stars. She smiled, a tired smile that carried the weight of everything they had sacrificed. They were right about all of it. And that is exactly why we won. The crowd roared. In his cabin on the returning diplomatic ship, Kevin Morrison sat alone with his translations. He had spent his life trying to understand the Council, to find the words that would earn humanity acceptance. Now he understood something he had missed before. The Council had not feared humanity's violence. They had feared what that violence represented. A species that refused to accept limits. A species that grew too fast and changed too quickly and never stopped pushing against the boundaries of what was possible. A species that looked at impossible odds and said no anyway. The galaxy was vast and ancient, filled with civilizations that had long ago settled into comfortable patterns. They had found their place and kept it for millions of years. Humanity had no place. Humanity was still searching, still growing, still becoming something that even they did not fully understand. And that, Kevin realized, was what made them dangerous. Not their weapons or their ships, or their willingness to fight. It was their refusal to stop. The stars stretched out before Earth, endless and unknown and full of possibilities. The galaxy was open now. The cage had been broken out, and humanity was just getting started. For 15 years, humanity went quiet. The borders of human space became walls that no one could pass. Ships that approached were turned away. Signals that tried to enter were blocked. From the outside, it looked like humanity had retreated into fear and isolation. The Galactic Concord watched with amusement at first. Elder Vulcan of the Vorath made a joke at a council meeting that became famous across the galaxy. "The humans have hidden under their beds," he said, "like children afraid of the dark. Perhaps in a few generations, they will come out again." The other species laughed. The Kethra clicked their mandibles in satisfaction. The Solari smiled their perfect smiles. Everything was as it should be. The young species had learned its place, but as the years passed, the amusement turned to confusion. Human space remained completely dark. No trade, no communication, no refugees seeking shelter in Concord territory. It was as if humanity had simply vanished. The Concord sent scout ships to investigate. The first ones approached the border and were met by automated warning signals. "You are entering restricted space. Turn back immediately." The scouts reported this and returned home. The Concord sent more scouts. These ones tried to slip past the border using stealth technology that had fooled every species in the galaxy for thousands of years. None of them came back. They simply disappeared without any trace or signal dot. Now the confusion became unease. Inside human space, something was happening that the Concord could not imagine. Every resource was being directed toward a single purpose. Every scientist worked on secret projects. Every factory produced weapons. Every able person trained for war. Commander Nathan Pierce led the covert operations. His face had changed over the years. A scar ran down his left cheek where a Kethra blade had cut him during a mission. His eyes had grown harder and colder. He was no longer the young captain who had warned Admiral Carter about trusting aliens. He was something else now, something forged in darkness and pain. His teams moved through Concord space like shadows. They wore stolen technology that made them invisible to alien sensors. They infiltrated space stations and downloaded secret files. They mapped military bases and identified weaknesses. They listened to alien communications and learned their plans. Pierce sent reports back to Earth every month. He described everything he learned. The Concord's military was spread thin across thousands of star systems. Their technology had not advanced significantly in centuries. They relied on their reputation to keep younger species afraid. They had forgotten what real war looked like. "They are weak," Pierce wrote in one report. "Not in numbers, but in spirit. They have grown soft. They believe their own stories. They cannot imagine that anyone would truly challenge them." Dr. Lisa Morgan led the Weapons Research Division. She had changed too. The gentle scientist who once studied alien biology with wonder was gone. In her place was a woman driven by ghosts. She barely slept. She barely ate. She worked constantly, turning the knowledge she had gained from the Concord into something new. "They gave us everything we needed," she told her team one night. They stood in a massive underground laboratory, surrounded by prototypes of weapons that had never existed before. They thought they were showing off. They thought we would be impressed and grateful. Instead, they taught us their weaknesses. She held up a small device. It looked simple, almost harmless. But when she activated it, a field of energy appeared to cut through solid metal like it was water. "They have had 10,000 years, Lisa said. "They have grown comfortable. They have stopped innovating. They have stopped being afraid." Her eyes were bright with something between grief and rage. "We have had 15 years, and we have rage." Governor Sandra Ellis managed the hidden fleet yards at Proxima Reach. It was a system on the edge of human space, far from any inhabited world. From the outside, it looked empty. Inside, it was anything but thousands of ships took shape in the darkness between stars. They were not like the vessels humanity had built before. Those had been elegant and diplomatic, designed to show the Concord that humans could be peaceful partners. These new ships were different. They were harsh and angular, covered in weapons and armor. They were designed for one purpose only. War. Alice walked through the shipyards every day, watching the progress. Workers moved in zero gravity, welding hulls and installing systems. Robots carried materials from storage bays. Everything moved with purpose and efficiency. "How many ships now?" she asked her assistant one morning. 8,000 combat-ready vessels, the assistant replied. "Another 2,000 in final construction. We will reach 10,000 within 6 months." Alice nodded. It was not enough. It would never feel like enough. But it was a start. Meanwhile, the Kethra grew bold. They believed humanity was broken. They believed the genocide on Haven had taught the lesson they intended. So they attacked 2 more human outposts, expecting the same easy victory. They were wrong. The outposts had been transformed into fortresses. Automated defense systems destroyed the first wave of Kethra ships before they could even fire. Ground troops met the Kethra soldiers with weapons and tactics they had never seen before. The humans fought with a ferocity that shocked the invaders. The attacks failed. The Kethra retreated in confusion. They had lost hundreds of soldiers and dozens of ships. They had not killed a single human back in Concord space. This news spread quickly. The Kethra tried to hide it, but rumors traveled faster than any censorship could stop. The humans had fought back. The humans had won. Ambassador Thivun requested a meeting with human representatives. After weeks of silence, President Palmer agreed to a video conference. Thivun appeared on the screen, looking concerned for the first time. "Perhaps there is room for renewed dialogue," Thivun said carefully. "The Concord is prepared to reconsider our relationship with humanity. We could offer reparations, a formal apology, recognition of all your territorial claims." Palmer looked at the alien for a long moment. Then he spoke 3 words. "Too late, Ambassador." The transmission ended. The Concord began to worry. Their intelligence networks tried desperately to discover what was happening in human space. They bribed humans who traveled outside the borders. They captured communication fragments. They analyzed every piece of data they could find. What they found terrified them. Human military production had increased by a factor of 12. Their weapons technology showed advancement that should have taken centuries. Their ships were faster and more powerful than anything the Concord had seen from a young species. And their population was unified in a way that defied all political models. There were no internal conflicts, no rebellions, no dissent. Every human seemed focused on a single purpose. Elder Vokan was no longer laughing. He stood before the Concord assembly with a grave expression. "We made a mistake," he said. His deep voice echoed through the chamber. "We underestimated them. We treated them as prey. We thought they would be like every other young species we have encountered. We were wrong." The assembly stirred uncomfortably. Some members shouted denials. Others demanded military action. But Vokan continued. "I fear what is coming," he said. "I fear that we have awakened something we do not understand. Humanity is not like us. They do not accept their circumstances. They do not bow to tradition. They do not know their place because they refuse to have one." The Kethra representative clicked angrily. "They are one species against 47. What can they possibly do? Let them come. We will crush them like we crushed their colony." Vakan looked at the Kethra with ancient eyes. "I hope you are right," he said quietly. "For all our sakes, I hope you are right." But deep in his heart, he knew. The old order was about to change. Humanity had been silent for 15 years. When they finally spoke, it would not be with words, it would be with fire. The year was 2347. Humanity had done what many thought impossible. They had spread across 12 star systems. They had built colonies on distant worlds. They had created trade routes between planets that were light years apart. And finally, after centuries of wondering if they were alone in the universe, they had made contact with other intelligent life. Admiral Daniel Carter stood on the bridge of his ship, the UES Valiant. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had served in the fleet for 30 years. He had seen many things, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. Through the large windows of his bridge, he watched a small shuttle approach their station. Inside that shuttle were beings from other worlds, real aliens. The first ones humanity would officially meet. The station floated above a beautiful planet called New Eden. It was one of humanity's newest colonies. Green forests covered its surface. Blue oceans sparkled under its yellow sun. Millions of people lived there, building new lives far from Earth. The shuttle docked with a soft sound. Carter straightened his uniform and walked to the meeting room. His heart beat fast, but his face showed nothing. He was a soldier. He knew how to hide his feelings. The door opened. 3 aliens walked in. The first was an insect-like creature called a Kethra. It stood on 6 legs. Its body was covered in hard black shell. Its eyes were large and without any warmth. It made clicking sounds when it moved. The second was a Varth. It was tall, almost 3 meters high. Its skin was green and covered in small scales like a reptile. It had sharp teeth and powerful arms. But its eyes showed intelligence, not just animal instinct. The third was a Solari. This one looked almost human. It had pale white skin and large dark eyes. Its body was thin and graceful. It wore flowing robes of silver and blue. This one was their leader. Its name was Thivuan. Admiral Carter, Thivuan said. Its voice was like music, soft and beautiful. But Carter noticed something else in that voice. Something that felt like looking down at a small child. "We welcome humanity to the greater galactic community." Carter nodded politely. "We are honored to meet you." Thivuan smiled, but the smile did not reach its eyes. The Galactic Concord has existed for over 10,000 years. We are a coalition of 47 spacefaring species. We maintain peace. We encourage trade. We share knowledge. And now, we offer you a place among us. The negotiations lasted for weeks. Humanity sent its best diplomats. They asked questions. They studied the treaties. They tried to understand this new galaxy they had entered. The Concord offered many things. Access to advanced technology. Trade agreements that could make human colonies rich. Protection from unknown dangers. Medical knowledge that could cure diseases. It seemed too good to refuse, but some humans had doubts. Dr. Elisa Morgan was one of them. She was a xenobiologist, a scientist who studied alien life. She worked on a frontier world called Haven. It was a peaceful place, a research colony where humans and aliens worked together. "Something feels wrong," Lisa told her colleague one evening. They sat in the colony's garden, watching the 2 moons rise over the hills. "The Solari scientists I work with, they treat us like we are children. Like we are not real partners. Just students who will never grow up." Her colleague laughed. "You worry too much, Lisa. They have been in space for thousands of years. Of course they feel superior. Give it time." Lisa nodded, but she did not feel better. Captain Nathan Pierce had similar worries. He was a soldier who patrolled the border regions of human space. His job was to keep the peace and protect human ships. He was a quiet man with sharp eyes and quick hands. "I do not trust them," he told Admiral Carter during a private meeting. "The Kethra look at us like we are food. The Varath barely speak to us. And the Solari smile too much." Carter sighed. "I understand your concerns, Nathan. But we are a young species in an old galaxy. We need allies. We need their knowledge. The decision has been made. Humanity accepted the Concord's offer. They became provisional members. It was the beginning of a new era. Humans and aliens working together, trading, learning, growing. For 20 years, things seemed good. Governor Sandra Ellis managed the fastest-growing human colony in the Outer Territories. She was a strong woman with red hair and a sharp mind. Under her leadership, the colony grew from a small settlement to a thriving city. Trade with the Concord brought wealth and technology. Dr. Lisa Morgan continued her research on Haven. She learned many things from her alien colleagues. She made friends. She published papers that were read across human space. But she never lost that small feeling of unease in her stomach. Captain Pierce rose through the ranks. He became Commander Pierce. He trained new soldiers. He improved human defenses. He watched the borders with careful eyes. And then, without any warning, everything changed. It started with silence. The Solari scientists on Haven stopped coming to work. They did not explain why. They just disappeared. 2 days later, Lisa saw their ships leaving the planet. They did not say goodbye. The same thing happened across human space. Concord diplomats withdrew from human stations. Trade ships stopped arriving. Communication channels went quiet. No one would answer humanity's questions. Lisa felt cold fear in her heart. She tried to contact the Concord representatives. No response. She tried to reach other human colonies. The signals were being blocked. On a quiet morning, she stood in her laboratory and looked out the window. The sky was clear and blue. Birds sang in the trees outside. It was a beautiful day. Then she saw them. Ships. Hundreds of ships. They appeared in the sky like black spots against the blue. Kethra warships. Their hulls were dark and covered in weapons. They moved in perfect formation, blocking out the sun. Lisa ran to the communication center. Her hands shook as she sent an emergency message to Earth. "We are under attack. Haven is under attack. Please send help." The Kethra did not send any message. They did not demand surrender. They did not ask for negotiation. They simply began firing. The first blast hit the capital city. A column of fire rose into the sky. Lisa felt the ground shake beneath her feet. Screams filled the air. People ran in every direction, but there was nowhere to go. For 6 hours, the bombardment continued. The Kethra were thorough. They destroyed military bases first, then power stations, then hospitals, then homes. They killed without mercy and without reason. Lisa hid in a bunker beneath her laboratory. She heard explosions above. She heard screams that slowly went silent. She held her knees to her chest and cried. When the silence finally came, she was one of only 300 survivors. 14 million people had lived on Haven that morning. By evening, almost all of them were dead, and the Galactic Concord said nothing. Admiral Daniel Carter received the distress signal 12 hours after the attack began. He was on the other side of human space, attending a meeting that now seemed meaningless. When he heard the words, "Haven is under attack," his blood turned to ice. He ordered the Valiant to maximum speed. Every engine pushed to its limit. Every crew member working without rest. But space was vast. Light years separated them from Haven. No matter how fast they traveled, they could not arrive in time. When the Valiant finally reached Haven, Carter stood on his bridge and stared at what remained. The beautiful green planet he remembered was gone. In its place was a burning husk. Fires covered the surface. Smoke filled the atmosphere. The blue oceans had turned gray with ash. "Search for survivors," Carter ordered. His voice was steady, but his hands trembled at his sides. The rescue teams found very few. Most of the population was dead. Cities that had held millions were now silent graves. The Kethra had been thorough in their destruction. They found Lisa Morgan in a bunker beneath a collapsed building. She was covered in dust and blood. Her eyes were empty and distant. When the soldiers pulled her out, she did not speak. She simply stared at the ruined sky. Carter met her in the medical bay of his ship. She sat on a bed, wrapped in a blanket. A doctor had treated her wounds, but no one could treat what was broken inside her. "Dr. Morgan," Carter said softly, "can you tell me what happened?" Lisa looked at him. Her eyes slowly focused. When she spoke, her voice was like a ghost. They knew. Carter frowned. "Who knew?" "The Kethra?" Lisa shook her head. "The Solari. The scientists I worked with. They left 2 days before the attack. They did not say goodbye. They did not warn us." Her hands tightened into fists. They knew it was coming. They knew, and they let it happen. Carter felt something dark and heavy settle in his chest. He had suspected this. He had feared it. But hearing the words made it real. Earth demanded answers. The United Government called an emergency session. Representatives from every human colony attended. They wanted to know why 14 million of their people were dead. They wanted to know what the Concorde would do. Ambassador Patricia Cole was sent to find out. She was a woman in her 50s, with gray hair and a face that showed no fear. She had spent her life in diplomacy. She had negotiated with the most difficult humans. But this was different. This was not negotiation. This was a demand for justice. She met Thavuan at a neutral station called Meridian. It was a place where different species could meet safely. The station floated in empty space, far from any world. A place for talking, not fighting. Thavuan arrived in robes of pure white. Its face showed perfect calm. It greeted Patricia with the same musical voice she remembered from the first contact ceremony 20 years ago. "Ambassador Cole, I am sorry for your loss. The destruction of Haven was a tragedy." Patricia did not sit down. She stood and looked directly into Thavuan's dark eyes. "A tragedy? 14 million people are dead. Children, families, scientists, farmers. The Kethra murdered them all. And the Concorde did nothing to stop it." Thavuan spread its thin hands in a gesture of helplessness. The Kethra acted independently. They claimed that Haven was built on their territory. The Concorde does not interfere in territorial disputes between members and non-full members. Patricia felt her anger rise. Territorial disputes? Our colony was there for 18 years. The Concorde approved its location. You gave us maps showing that space was unclaimed. The maps were incomplete, Thavuan replied smoothly. An unfortunate error. These things happen when dealing with young species who do not fully understand galactic boundaries. This was genocide, Patricia said. Her voice was hard as stone. Your people knew it was coming. They left before the attack. They could have warned us. Thavuan's expression did not change. I cannot speak to the actions of individual scientists. Perhaps they had other reasons to leave. Regardless, the matter is now considered closed. The Concorde offers its sympathy, but we cannot take action against the Kethra. They broke no Concorde law. Patricia stared at the alien for a long moment. She understood now. She understood everything. Humanity was not a partner to the Concorde. They were not even a minor member. They were prey. A young species that could be culled whenever the older species felt threatened or annoyed. The Kethra had simply done what the Concorde silently approved. This is your answer? Patricia asked. Sympathy? We hope humanity will learn from this experience, Thivuan said. There was something in its voice now, something like a warning. The galaxy is large and dangerous. Young species must know their place. Those who do not often suffer consequences. Patricia turned and walked away. She did not say goodbye. She did not look back. On Earth, President Eric Palmer watched the recording of the meeting. He was a tall man with dark skin and eyes that had seen too much. He had been a soldier before he became a politician. He knew what war looked like. He knew what defeat looked like. But he also knew what determination looked like. He called the Security Council together. Every major human leader attended. Military commanders, colony governors, scientists, diplomats. They filled the Great Hall in Geneva, waiting to hear what their president would say. Palmer stood at the podium. The room was silent. I have seen the recording of Ambassador Cole's meeting with the Concorde, he began. I have heard their response to the murder of 14 million of our people. They offer sympathy. They offer nothing else. He paused. His eyes swept across the room. They expect us to accept this, to bow our heads, to learn our place, as they say. His voice grew harder. They look at humanity and see a young species, a weak species, a species that will accept whatever they give us and ask for nothing more. He leaned forward. They are wrong. The room stirred. People looked at each other. Some nodded. Others frowned with worry. What they do not understand, Palmer continued, is that humanity has never learned its place. When we were told the oceans could not be crossed, we built ships. When we were told the sky was the limit, we built rockets. When we were told that other stars were forever beyond our reach, we found a way to reach them anyway. He straightened. The Concorde has existed for 10,000 years. They have grown comfortable. They have grown arrogant. They believe that their way is the only way. They believe that young species must bow to old ones. His eyes burned with cold fire. We will teach them otherwise. He called for a vote. The proposal was simple. Humanity would withdraw from the Galactic Concorde. All diplomatic relations would end. All trade would stop. Human space would close its borders, and in secret, humanity would prepare. The vote was unanimous. Every hand rose in favor. Every voice said yes. That night, orders went out across human space. The colonies began to fortify. The shipyards increased production. Scientists received new assignments. Soldiers began training for a war that might take years to come. And in hidden facilities scattered across 12 star systems, a secret project began. They called it Prometheus, named after the figure from old Earth mythology, who stole fire from the gods and gave it to humanity. The Concorde had shown humanity its place in the galaxy. Now humanity would show the Concorde what happened when they pushed too hard. Commander Nathan Pierce received his new orders while stationed at a border outpost. He read them 3 times to make sure he understood. His mission was simple but dangerous. He would lead covert operations into Concorde space. He would gather intelligence. He would find weaknesses. He would prepare the way for what was to come. He looked out his window at the distant stars. Somewhere out there, the Kethra were celebrating their victory. The Solari were smiling their empty smiles. The Concorde was continuing its ancient games. They had no idea what was coming. Pierce smiled grimly. It was not a pleasant smile. It was the smile of a man who had found his purpose. You wanted us to learn our place, he said quietly to the darkness. We did. Our place is wherever we decide it will be. The silent years had begun. The invitation arrived on Earth every single year without fail. It came through the deep space communication relay that the Galactic Council had placed near Jupiter 300 years ago. The message was always the same. It invited humanity to send representatives to the annual summit on Nexus Prime, the great space station where 400 alien civilizations gathered to discuss trade, war, and the future of the galaxy. And every single year, Earth said no. Ambassador Crixton of the Valori Dominion stood before the massive assembly hall on Nexus Prime. His blue skin glowed softly under the bright lights. His large black eyes looked out at the thousands of alien delegates who filled the curved seats that rose up toward the domed ceiling. He had been dealing with the human problem for 50 years now, and he was tired of it. Once again, the humans have refused our invitation, Crixton announced. His voice echoed through the chamber. They claim they have internal matters to attend to. They say they are not ready for galactic politics. This is the 300th time they have given us this excuse. Laughter spread through the assembly. The sound was strange because it came from beings with different vocal systems. Some clicked, some whistled, and some rumbled like thunder. But they were all laughing at the same thing. They were laughing at humanity. A delegate from the Marathi collective rose from his seat. His body was made of living crystal that caught the light and scattered it in rainbow patterns. His voice sounded like glass breaking when he spoke. Why do we continue to waste our time with these primitives? The Marathi asked. They have barely colonized their own solar system. They have no fleet worth mentioning. They contribute nothing to galactic civilization. Let them stay in their little corner of space until they finally grow up. Crixton nodded slowly. I share your frustration, honored delegate. But protocol demands that we continue to extend invitations to all spacefaring species. Protocol is foolish when applied to fools, the Marathi replied. More laughter filled the chamber. High Chancellor Morvex of the Sindari Empire watched from his elevated throne at the center of the room. He had 4 arms and gray skin covered in intricate patterns. He was the most powerful being in the galaxy, and he found the discussion about humans incredibly boring. Move on to the next matter, Morvex commanded. The humans are not worth our attention, and so the galaxy forgot about Earth once again. But on Earth, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility that did not appear on any map, Admiral Daniel Hayes watched the intercepted transmission with great interest. The walls around him were covered in screens showing data from across the galaxy. The room hummed with the sound of computers processing information that the aliens never knew was being collected. Daniel was 62 years old, with gray hair cut short in military style. His face was hard and weathered from decades of service. He wore a simple black uniform with no decorations or medals. In this facility, secrecy mattered more than ceremony. Beside him stood Secretary of Defense Laura Mitchell. She was in her 50s with brown hair pulled back tight. Her eyes were sharp and missed nothing. Her family had served in the program for 4 generations. On the other side stood Kevin Park, the Chief Science Advisor. He was younger than the others, only 45, but he was considered the smartest person on the planet when it came to alien technology. His fingers moved constantly over his tablet as he processed new data. They are laughing at us again, Laura said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were cold. Good, Daniel replied. Let them laugh. The more they underestimate us, the easier our job becomes. Kevin looked up from his tablet. The latest reports from the Oort Cloud shipyards are in. Production is ahead of schedule. We now have 8,400 capital ships fully operational. Another 3,000 are in final construction. Laura let out a slow breath. My great-great-grandmother started this program. She never thought she would see it finished. Neither did my great-grandmother or my grandmother. My mother died believing it would take another century. But here we are. Daniel walked to the central display and pulled up a holographic map of the galaxy. Red dots appeared across it, marking positions that no alien knew about. Human positions, hidden bases, secret shipyards, Stealth stations buried in asteroids and moons across hundreds of star systems. 300 years ago, the Galactic Council sent a survey team to Earth, Daniel said. They scanned our planet, analyzed our technology, and declared us a primitive species of no importance. They gave us a classification that meant we were too weak to be a threat and too poor to be worth trading with. They put a communication relay in our solar system and told us to call when we were ready to join. Civilization. He paused and looked at the others. What they did not know was that their survey ship had a small security flaw. Our scientists found it. They cracked the alien database. They downloaded everything. Star maps, technology blueprints, military reports, economic data. Everything the Galactic Council knew, we knew too. Kevin continued the explanation. The first generation used that knowledge to understand what we were dealing with. The second generation began reverse engineering alien technology. The third generation started building in secret. The fourth generation expanded our hidden network across the galaxy. And now, my generation will finish what they started. Lavra moved to another screen that showed ship designs. The aliens think we have a few hundred small vessels for mining and exploration. They have no idea that we have built the largest fleet in galactic history. Our ships are better than theirs. Our weapons are stronger. Our shields are tougher. We took their technology and improved it in ways they never imagined. Daniel nodded. And we did it all without them noticing. For 300 years, we played the role of the quiet primitives who were too shy to join the galactic community. We skipped every council meeting. We refused every trade offer. We turned down every alliance. And while they forgot about us, we prepared. A young officer entered the room and handed Daniel a report. He read it quickly and allowed himself a small smile. The last of our infiltration ships has returned, Daniel announced. We now have complete maps of every hyperspace route in the galaxy. We know where every alien fleet is stationed. We know their patrol schedules, their response times, and their communication codes. We know everything. Lavra looked at the map showing the positions of human assets across the galaxy. How much longer? 6 months, Daniel said. In 6 months, we will be ready. And then the galaxy will learn an important lesson. They will learn that they should have paid attention to us. They will learn that they should have treated us with respect. They will learn that ignoring humanity was the biggest mistake they ever made. Kevin pulled up a countdown timer on the main display. It showed 182 days remaining. What happens in 6 months? He asked, even though he already knew the answer. Daniel Hayes looked at the timer with cold determination in his eyes. In 6 months, he said quietly, humanity stops hiding. In 6 months, we show the galaxy exactly what we have been doing while they laughed at us. In 6 months, we take control of every major hyperspace route in known space. And then, for the first time in 300 years, the Galactic Council will finally start taking our calls. The room fell silent. Everyone understood the weight of what was coming. 300 years of patience, planning, and sacrifice were about to pay off. The quiet primitives were about to roar, and the galaxy would never be the same again.